Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about my journey to sustainable health and meaningful success. If you're coming back and you've already subscribed, welcome back. Y'all are my people and I love you so dang much. And if you're new, I hope you consider subscribing by the end of this video. My goal is to reach 1,000. At this point, 1,000 subscribers would make my whole year, but I don't know. I don't know. It's taken me a long time to reach the number of subscribers that I have right now. And y'all have been the realest. So if you want to help me out, hit the subscribe button and join the squad. Anyway, so what's been on my mind recently is that I quit Nutrisystem because it was not working for me. And honestly, I'm 2 weeks away from receiving my health coaching certification, and for my clients that I currently work with and any future clients, I would not suggest Nutrisystem. To be honest, that's my personal opinion. Everything that I say is my personal opinion, and I'm also not a certified professional yet, but I have had plenty of experience with yo-yo dieting, and now I've lost 50 pounds over the last year and kept it off. So I have a little bit of, number one, skin in the game, number two, experience with all the yo-yo dieting BS and the crash diets and all of that. So that's on my mind. And I tried to write out my rant because I have so much to say about Nutrisystem that I'm trying to be organized with this. Number one, first of all, we've talked about week one. If you watch my Nutrisystem week one video, and basically every time I talk about Nutrisystem, I have said about week one that it is unhealthy. They have you eating less than 1,000 calories per day based on their recommended daily diet for week one. And that's why people are able to claim that they've lost 10 pounds in the first week. And that's because they're basically starving themselves. At minimum, you should be eating 1,200 calories a day as an adult. That's your minimum calorie intake, regardless of your weight loss goals. But eating less than 1,000 calories a day is way too restrictive. It basically kills your metabolism because you want fast results. So you're willing to put your body into starvation mode where it then starts holding on to the food that you eat rather than burning it. And so you'll burn or you'll lose a lot of water weight and you'll lose a little bit of actual like fat kind of weight within the first week. But then your metabolism slows down to the point where it's trying not to burn those calories because it is trying to hold on to the fat that you have to reserve energy because you're starving yourself. So it's actually hurting you in the long run. And also it triggers eating disorders. And I will say this now, if you have an eating disorder or a history of eating disorders, what I might say might trigger you. So if this isn't something that you are willing to hear right now or ready to hear right now, I completely understand. Please click off the video. I love you guys so much, and just catch me in a different video, okay? But for me, I have a history of binge eating disorder, and I've done a lot of work on my relationship with food in the past year. So I thought that doing Nutrisystem, the reason why I was doing Nutrisystem in the first place was not to, solve all of my weight problems. It was just, I'm going through a transitioning season in my life. So meal planning was not something that I could really handle, or I didn't think I could handle meal planning. And I was dealing with some seasonal depression as well. So I figured that this could be a good solution just to get food off of my mind and have it already prepared. But what ended up happening was week one was so restrictive that it ended up really triggering my impulse and my compulsion to binge eat. And it was very hard for me to regulate myself in the second week. Actually, even toward the end of week one, I was getting hangry too. And as a health coach, I never would suggest that someone goes hungry in order to lose weight. There's there's certain ways that you can balance your blood sugar and, eat at times or plan to eat at times when you're just thinking about food rather than when you're actually hungry, to allow yourself the opportunity to, have those things planned out rather than just kind of eating on impulse. But for me, in that time of like just always feeling hungry, always feeling like I was not eating enough, it really triggered a lot of binging. And the night before I canceled my Nutrisystem was Halloween night. So actually it was the night before. I went to a friend's house and they were going to have dinner at 7:00. I was socially distanced, all of that. It was a very small group. So we were safe, basically, in our celebration. But we're going to eat at 7, but she knew I was doing the Nutrisystem program. So I was going to eat either my food there while they were eating their dinner, or I was going to eat before. Well, I had eaten lunch at noon, so I didn't want to wait until 7 to eat. So then I ended up eating beforehand. Well, I knew I was going to be drinking that night as well, and that it was going to be a really late night. So I figured, well, the Nutrisystem dinner that I'm eating right now is not going to be enough. So an entire box of vanilla wafers later, I feel sick to my stomach after having binged alone in my apartment just to avoid socially eating and even eating something outside of the Nutrisystem plan, and admitting to my friends that no, I'm not on Nutrisystem for tonight because it's just not working for me, or it just doesn't fit with my social life right now. I'd rather eat with my friends than eat alone, secluded and like socially isolated. So for that reason, I think Nutrisystem in general can be pretty socially isolating because you're eating food that's specifically on this program. So if you want to go out to eat somewhere, you're bringing your little Nutrisystem bar and maybe you can order a salad, but it still makes you feel like the other or the person who's dieting in a social setting. And for me, I don't like feeling that way personally. I know some people would be like, well, suck it up. That's the sacrifice you have to make to lose weight. But personally, I think that food should not be a socially alienating thing, especially if you have a history of eating disorders where eating alone or not eating alone or being very secretive with your food is a problem. And for me, that was really triggering. And I don't use the word triggering very lightly. So to say that I was triggered, describes to me the feeling of not being in control at that point and feeling like I couldn't actually do what I knew in my head was healthy, but it was a compulsion that I did not feel like I actually could control. And that is just incredibly discouraging for me. And I haven't felt so frustrated and disappointed in myself, even though I know that that I am strong enough to overcome my battles with food, but that Nutrisystem did not help me. It hurt me. And so I'm not trying to say it's none of my fault, but at the same time, I coach my clients this as well, that if it's not working for you, get rid of it and just don't blame yourself that a particular program didn't work for you. Don't think that you're a failure just because you didn't lose weight on a particular program when other people have, because we're all so individual that not every diet is going to fit every person. And yeah, but here are the reasons why I wouldn't say Nutrisystem is really for anyone, or I would severely doubt that this is actually healthy for anyone. Number one, in general, the food is highly processed, as we would assume, because it's so, prepackaged and it is all, pre-made. So it's highly processed and high in sodium. It actually builds unhealthy eating habits in terms of expecting that you're going to be able to eat a muffin every morning for breakfast or have dessert every single day. Like, you can have a cupcake every single day on Nutrisystem, and you can have pasta every single day, and hamburgers. And so it's the diet version of these comfort foods, but it's still normalizing and actually habitualizing these comfort foods every single day, rather than actually educating you on the macronutrients that you need, like protein, fat, and carbohydrates are the 3 macronutrients, and then like vitamins and minerals. So it doesn't really educate you on the food choices that you can be making and the amount, like the portion sizes of what a good size of protein, or what a good portion of protein is, or what a good portion of fat, or the difference between healthy fat and unhealthy fat, because going fat-free is not actually optimal for fat loss. That surprises a lot of people, but it lacks the education to actually empower you to make your own decisions, but instead it kind of just like it's not even satiating. I'm trying to think of the word, where it pacifies you. It pacifies you with your little comfort foods, that you can have a little muffin, you can have a little this or that, but it doesn't actually build healthy, sustainable habits for you to make change in the long run. So as soon as you get off Nutrisystem, you're used to having dessert every day, and you're used to having pasta every day. And it's very difficult to then like normalize to human, like normal, like life, and eat foods and prepare foods, cook foods that are healthy for you. So I honestly really doubt the sustainability of the weight loss that someone would experience on Nutrisystem. So it would take a tremendous amount of effort to heal your relationship with food and build healthy habits, in addition to the Nutrisystem program, because Nutrisystem does not help you with actually sustainable health. And then it leaves people actually hooked on processed carbs, which does no help. It does no favors for your blood sugar. And blood sugar is like half the battle for most people with weight loss issues. Because if you can build a sustainable blood sugar, and you're not constantly spiking and dropping and feeling like you need something right now, if you can kind of stabilize your blood sugar, that puts a lot less stress on your body, and stress on your body is the ultimate detriment to a lot of people's health issues, not just weight gain or weight loss. So anyway, that's tangent, but basically these processed carbohydrates that Nutrisystem has is actually getting you hooked on that kind of food, and not just that kind of food, but the carbohydrates themselves and the blood sugar spikes and drops. So not a fan. Not a fan of that. So the person I would recommend this to is someone who is just looking for a crash diet to lose the weight that they gained after their previous crash diet. So in my personal opinion, Nutrisystem is ideal for yo-yo dieters who want to continue gaining and losing the same 10 to 15 pounds over and over and over again. Very rarely, I think it's those are anecdotal stories of the people who can lose a tremendous amount of weight and actually keep it off for a sustained period of time without continuing to buy Nutrisystem. Like, as soon as you get off Nutrisystem, what do your eating habits look like, and what does your relationship with food look like? Because I highly doubt it would actually be sustainable, the weight loss and habits. Weight loss is not just portion control. There's so much more, and there's so much more freedom when you stabilize your relationship with food. I'm not preaching that as someone who has a perfect relationship with food, clearly easily triggered with my eating disorder. But just over the past year, the work that I've done on my relationship with food has been more life-changing and more transformational in the way that I see myself and the way that I see my potential in how I can live my life and be excited about life as a thinner person, as a lighter person, as a more free person to do the activities that I want to do. My relationship with food has been more than just okay, if I only eat this much calories, then I'll be able to fit into this size pants. It's not, sustainable health is just so much richer than that. That's my opinion. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the cancellation process and my conversation with this, because that's why I'm doing this in my car, because I didn't want it to feel formal. I want to tell you about how I canceled this. I called the number to cancel, talked to a customer service representative. He was very kind and very polite, but I have a lot of issues with the things that we discussed. So I'll just get into it, okay? So, first of all, he did, after I told him the reason why I quit the program, or that I was just canceling early, because as we've covered before, I signed up and basically you get 50% off your order, but you automatically sign up to have the auto payment or the auto renewal. So you get a second month. If you cancel before your first month of auto renew, so basically if you cancel before your second month, there's a $125 cancellation fee. So when I signed on, I knew I was going to be doing this for 8 weeks, because it was going to be 2 months of Nutrisystem to get the price that they were offering. But by the time I quit, I was just like, no, screw it. Just take my money, free me from this program, because I don't want to be beholden to this processed food. I feel like crap. My knees hurt. My joints hurt. My asthma has been so bad. My congestion has been terrible. And it doesn't help that it's allergy season, but I know that the food, I have a lot of food sensitivities. So on top of all of that, Nutrisystem is just not the type of food that my body thrives on. My body thrives on vegetables, fruit, meat, and basically that's it. But it just wasn't making me feel good. And the reward of having comfort food wasn't cutting it for me. It didn't, I don't even know if I can say that I really like those foods. I like those foods when it is a rare occasion. That's weird that I learned that about myself, but I was actually excited to buy groceries for this week and do my meal prepping again, because I'm like, oh my God, just give me vegetables and just plain and simple, like chicken. Like, that's all I want. I don't want pasta anymore. Anyway, so I canceled. He waived the $125 cancellation fee because of my reasons for canceling, which I'm very grateful for. I'm glad that I didn't have to pay that extra money. And he didn't have to do that. I was willing to pay the $125. But then when I told him, I told him that, I was like, well, if you're asking me why I canceled just for your own personal interest, I won't bore you with all my reasons. But if you are actually reporting this and like giving feedback on the program, I'd like to suggest that Nutrisystem changes their first week to have people eating a little bit more than 1,000 calories per day. I think that's too restrictive. And I also told him that it triggered my eating disorder. I told him all of the reasons that I just told you. And he said, number one, he argued that most people who renew with their Nutrisystem opt for the week 1 option, that they have that calorie restricted option. And I'm thinking to myself, well, of course they're going to opt for week 1 if they don't know anything about weight loss, or they don't know anything about, health, and they are trying to have this program teach them how to be healthy. Then they're thinking, well, I lost so much weight on week 1, like I should do week 1 again, because that's when I lost the most weight, even though they don't realize that they're starving themselves. So I'm like, of course people are going to opt for that if they don't know better. They don't know that that's actually a detrimental move for sustainable health. Then he also argued that because of my history of an eating disorder, he said, well, you ordered online, and there's nothing that we have online to prevent people with past of eating disorders to order our food. If you would have called to order, you would have spoken to one of our trained therapists or counselors or nutritionists, and had they known that you had a history of eating disorders, especially if it was anorexia, and they recommended our program to you, they would have lost their jobs. So they're not allowed to recommend our program to people with a history of eating disorders. But since you didn't call, it's just like, and then he compared it. He's like, it's just like a fudge company with diabetics. It's not the fudge company's responsibility to warn people with diabetes that their food could be potentially unhealthy for people with diabetes. And while at face value that might make sense, that it's not the company's responsibility to make sure that people are using their product responsibly, in my opinion, if you're going to sell a diet program, and if all of your advertisements are talking about losing weight safely and healthily, and you're claiming to have, nutritionally recommended foods and have all of these certified, health professionals as part of your team, then I think you should make a disclaimer about people who have issues with eating disorders or other issues. I don't know. So then I suggested, I'm like, well, okay, I understand. Well, I didn't call because I saw the advertisement online. So I was online. So I ordered online. And so I'm like, well, maybe you could do like a pre-survey or just do a disclaimer before people order, that this is not recommended for people with a history of eating disorders, or just not, if you have a history of eating disorders, please call our customer service before ordering. Well, he's like, well, we couldn't possibly do a disclaimer for every, potential health condition that people could have. It would be hundreds and hundreds of pages long. At this point, I was done having this discussion with this customer service rep. I'm like, okay, well, just put it in your notes if it's going to be feedback for people who are maybe altering their program based on this feedback. Just please note that week 1 is extremely not healthy, and maybe you guys could change the way that you approach people with history of eating disorders. I don't know. Maybe it was petty, but I think as a health foods program, or as a diet program, you should be more responsible with the product that you sell. Personally, I think if you're going to claim that people are going to lose weight safely and healthily, then you should have a safe and healthy way for people to lose weight. In fact, in my personal opinion, I would say that if you didn't have an eating disorder before doing Nutrisystem week 1, Nutrisystem week 1 might actually spark some eating disorder tendencies. For instance, when you feel like you're starving, it's a good thing you're immediately rewarded by losing weight. I think that promotes eating less food than is sustainable for your body. That is my personal opinion. I think that's unhealthy. It's the wrong message to send to people. There are other ways, easier ways, more fun ways to lose weight than to starve yourself. And it wasn't sustainable for me after week 1 because of the socially isolating aspect of it, and the fact that the food just made me feel worse. It didn't make me feel good. That could be just my own personal sensitivities, but I also think it just wasn't, it's not health promoting foods, even though it's the diet version and it has a bunch of protein packed in to every muffin and stuff that doesn't normally have protein in it. It just made me feel kind of crappy. It didn't do any favors for my blood sugar. And I'm not diabetic. I'm very sensitive to carbohydrates and sugar and the effect that it has on my body and on my cravings. It caused me to crave that kind of sugary carbohydrate processed foods more. And it was not the program for me. And I don't know. If it's the program for you, then I wish you the best. And I want you to have sustainable health. And if this is a sustainably healthy thing for you to do, then that's amazing. And that truly does shock me. But I'm not for it, bro. I would not recommend, fam. So anyway, that's my summary on Nutrisystem. I'm sorry I couldn't do the full 8 weeks, and I'm not even doing the food reviews. I took a bunch of pictures of the food that I was eating on Nutrisystem. I'm not even going to tell you if it was delicious or not, because at this point, I'm not recommending the program to you. So why would you need to know if the food tasted good? There was one dish, though. This is going to be vulgar, so if you don't like this, just click off, okay? It's not vulgar, but there was one dish that I opened it up and I was like, I'm going to throw up if I eat this. But I'm like, all right, no, push through. Iron stomach, let's go. And so yeah, I microwaved it. I put it on top of my vegetables and I tied my hair back because I was ready. I had the garbage can at the ready because it was just not appealing. It was like pasta and beans. It was like their bean bolognese. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I don't know. Personally, pasta and beans should not be mixed together. That is my personal opinion. It was disgusting. I thought I was going to throw up. I managed to stomach it because when I am determined to eat something, I will eat it, regardless of whether or not it looks like cat food and tastes and smells like something that came up from your kitchen sink. Anyway. I just grossed myself out thinking about that. I'm so sorry. Ugh. Anyway, love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Tune in on Wednesday for more multi-level marketing content or anti-MLM content, and Sundays for more health content. Okay. Bye.